Hello, I'm Shane Schultz from Serenely Speaking, and this is the Arisen Strength Extra. Folks, we do this show because we feel there are far too many dreams, talents, and capabilities that are being suppressed for whatever reason. Whether it be injury, illness, or life experiences, these situations have a way of finding us being robbed of what it is that makes us special and unique in this world, and that's our passions. Here at Arisen Strength, we encourage people to pursue their passions in spite of the challenges they face. Now, how we do that is with our three-pillar concept. Number one, we support. Number two, we empower. And after all that work, number three, we have the right to celebrate. Folks, that's the Arisen Strength concept. Our goal is to help bring back the passions of life to you again. Tonight, we're going to discuss on Arisen Strength Extra, episode number 22, where we bring awareness to suicide awareness and prevention, of which was a great show that we had on the 27th, Wayne.
Yeah, it was a really good show. We got a lot of great feedback from it, and it was a show that we've kind of been building up to since episode one in some sense. Because we're really trying to get all the pillars and foundations ironed out. Make sure that we can talk about them clearly, or make sure that you can talk about them clearly. I struggle talking clearly, and but this is an important show. This is an important topic. They all are, but this one is important because it hits so close to home, at least in my view. Of the other things that we've done, that they impact our lives, but this one very, very much hits very close to home, and not just with my own personal experiences, but mostly, your experience with suicidality and stuff. So this was a tough show, and it was a really important show, and one that we were heavily invested in.
Yeah, and this was a show that anybody who knew me knew was going to it was going to be coming up, because they believe that this is what my expertise in regards to bringing the mental health aspect to different challenges and struggles that people face. And for that reason, we didn't jump right into it. We put it aside. We put it down the road a little bit. To be honest with you, it kind of was it was fate that we ended up doing it on the same month of Suicide Prevention Month, because that really was not the priority. The priority was to do it when we were ready to do it, when we were going to have a good product to be able to show it in the way that I wanted to. And it just kind of fit well to go after the series of shows that we did in regards to chronic illness. Another thing that we did is I knew that it was going to be something that was going to be bigger than just myself and or Arisen Strength. So what I decided to do is I decided to talk to a number of my different friends throughout social media, and Wayne's also has a number of friends out there. And we went to them and we decided to do a collaborative effort to bring as much awareness to this series as much as possible. And how we did that is with a hashtag. We have our own little hashtag. It's hashtag life is worth living. And, our friends have been wonderful in helping us do that. We've got Rustic for Life, which is Angela Harding, who's a teammate of ours on Arisen Strength. We've got Anxiety and Depression Warriors 2.0. They've been wonderful. They've been with us since the very beginning. Serenely Speaking, which is my company in regards to public speaking. Lupus Diva May with the Wellness Project. She's doing her own thing right now, and thankfully we get to benefit from it because she's on our team. So that works out really well. Then we've got Unveiling Stigma, which again, that's another one that's been with us forever. That's Harper and Charles and Dan, the man. And then we've got World Lyme Day, which is Terry and Rebecca, our very good friends from World Lyme Day. They've been doing a lot of work to be able to bring the awareness to this topic. And then, of course, we've got our Days community, which has been helpful with us from the very beginning, and they've just been wonderful, helping us out to bring out this hashtag as far as we can get it. So I knew that it was going to take a collaborative effort. I didn't want to just say, hey, this is Arisen Strengths and that's it. I wanted to that's not the point. The point is to be able to help people as much as we possibly can.
Yes, we got Life is Worth Living, a hashtag. We've been using it on Facebook and on Twitter, and we'll continue to be using it throughout this entire series, which
Right.
is, as you mentioned, we have the episode 22 plus the extra, Arisen Strength Extra, which we're doing now for episode 22. But for the next couple episodes coming up, I think we're going to have 3 more episodes in this series.
Yeah, we are. We're going to be talking about a number of different things. We're going to be talking about value, which really kind of falls into self-esteem, which is taking ownership of what it is that you're going through, as
And being
well,
accountable.
and being accountable. Exactly.
Yeah, we talk about self-esteem. I think some people talk about self-esteem, and sometimes it just has maybe this feel good, like, oh, I feel good about myself. Look at my self-esteem. But we put a little bit more behind it. It's self-esteem, but it's self-esteem that's backed up with that accountability and that ownership. That you got to know who you are. You got to stand for who you are, and then you accept what happens,
Yep.
and then it's that kind of thing that kind of builds you up a little bit, and so you get that happy, good, oh, I feel good about myself. That comes naturally when you back it up with some content.
And some of it isn't altogether that easy. When you're talking about self-esteem, the way that we talk about it, look, we don't pull punches on this show. We're not in the position to pull punches when we're talking about the topics that we talk about. When we're talking about taking ownership, hey, that's on us. It's on us as individuals to be able to take our part of the problem and being able to do as much as that we can to be accountable to ourselves, to be able to adjust in order to fix things a little bit better and make the day a little bit better. And that it automatically starts lifting the weight off of the shoulders. And that makes somebody feel a little bit better. It makes them feel a little bit more free. And it also helps in when you're talking about the mental health aspect of it, or the mental aspect of it. That's more accurate. It helps the mental aspect of it to where your subconscious is on the same page with you as opposed to your opponent against you. Because I know all about that, and I talked about that pretty freely on episode 22 when we brought awareness to suicide. Because my subconscious was definitely against me. My subconscious was sitting there saying, hey, you know what? You know who's the problem? You're the problem. I can't trust you in order to not hurt me, and therefore you need to go. Does that sound like that's something that's helping me in any way? That was I've had a number of days that I can fully remember having conversations, and people might think that I'm crazy that I have conversations with myself, but I got to tell you, they were some of the most prominent conversations in my lifetime. To where all of a sudden, the guy looking in the mirror, was talking about his own part in the problem, and it wasn't a really good thing. It was one of those things. It was leading me down to that magnetic path that we talk about, leading me to that point as to where I need to make a decision, or at least I felt I need to make a decision, whether to take my own life or not, and I did.
Yeah, I think it's great you talk about your subconscious not being on the same page, because that seems to be the root of a lot of sort of self-harm, self-sabotage. Inside you're feeling this certain way, so then externally you start doing things so that they start lining up. And part of taking the ownership and being accountable is taking the lead on that and say, you know what, I'm going to do the thing and then let the feelings catch up to me. But eventually what you want to do is you want them to line up, because when they are different and they're at odds with each other, that's when, we find ourselves really at risk of making poor decisions. As you said, it comes down to where sometimes you think, I have no other choice. This is the only thing I have left to do. And somehow, maybe we don't say these next words, but there's this tacit thing and that will make everything okay. If I can just do, especially when it comes, we're talking about suicide here, obviously, but when you commit to, suicide, that maybe there's this tacit understanding that, hey, if I do this, then everything will finally line up. It'll be I'll be doing what I'm feeling, and it'll end, or it's so final. But it's an act of desperation to just try and get the inside to match with the outside.
And that's why we're doing the workshop. We're going to be talking about valuing oneself. We're going to be talking about the purpose in life, which is all about empowerment. And then we're going to do a number of different things, trying to give people the reality of the situation here. Believe it or not, there's a lot of distortions that are within our mind that lead us down to the wrong path. And one of those things that I know personally was that I had a lot of distortions in my head that it was the right decision to go ahead and take my own life. And so you have to get to that point as to where you start working on something. You can't just think about it. You can't just think, oh, well, I'm going to change. No. You need effort. You need work to do this. And that's what's going to actually train the subconscious. I don't want to get all into it, but the bottom line is that your subconscious, of which is really running the show, that needs to be retrained. It needs to be reconstructed. It needs to be conditioned in a different way. And that takes effort. And a lot of it has to do with self-esteem. A lot of it has to do with taking accountability. A lot of it has to do with valuing yourself again, and really, going down to the very detail of caring about yourself, to where you're not making decisions that kind of fit into that same old cycle that'll keep on bringing you to the same old place time and time again. So,
and this is a great time to remember that it's progress, absolutely, not perfection. As you said, this is a slow process. This is not going to happen overnight. This is as committed as you are to want to retrain your subconscious. It's not going to happen in one day.
Right.
And you start by doing little things, taking ownership for little things, being accountable for little things, and then build them up over time, and all the other things that we're going to talk about in the workshop, they might sound, if you're not careful, like it's just a snap. It's easy, because a lot of this stuff is easy to say, but it is hard to do. And things that are hard to do or difficult to do are things that take time, take practice, take effort. We just do in steps. We keep it simple at first, and we'll build up the complexity over time.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's the very small things that make a big difference, and everybody tries to tackle the biggest thing on earth, in thinking that that's what I have to do. No, that's not what you have to do. What you have to do is start from the very beginning of things. When it comes to, how about sleep? Get the right amount of sleep for your body so that it can deal with what it is that it's dealing with. How about, they're called ADLs, which are what now?
Activities of daily living.
Right, exactly.
And that means brushing your teeth, taking a shower, grooming your hair, changing the clothes, washing your clothes. These things make a big difference in life. It really does, because all of a sudden it's like you're in that deep, dark tunnel. And that is where the light is going to be at the end of that tunnel, is when you start doing the little things. That's when all of a sudden you'll see that glimmer of light that's at the end of the tunnel, where there is something that's out there. Now you just got to get there. And we're going to show you how to get there, with your efforts, not with ours, with your efforts. You can be there. And, I didn't learn this stuff, by pulling it out of the air. I took, for the better part of 5 years, working on what it is that I needed to learn in order to be able to recondition my mind and my subconscious to start understanding that, hey, my life is worth living.
And this is a lot of work. This was done over a lot of years, especially in your case. Well, in all our cases, but in particular, you mentioned that 5 years of hard work on your part, and this wasn't work that you did by yourself either.
It isn't, and I'm glad that you brought that up, because we actually have a wonderful interview by somebody by the name of Claudia. Now, Claudia is a clinician. She actually was my clinician and is my clinician. And she has been there with me from the very beginning. And, you know, I learned a whole lot of things from this lady and the way that she does things. And I thought, well, if it helped me out, it didn't fix me. If it helped me out, then why don't I take that person and try to help out other people as well? And you know, so we've got a great interview with Claudia. You know, she's going to also bring out something that a lot of people have. We've been getting some really good feedback on the show that we did on the 27th. Some people came to me and said, hey, what about the caregiver point of view? What about the people that are left behind when it comes to suicide? Well, I did that on purpose. I left it out of the 27th show because I wanted to do it on this show, because I wanted a clinician point of view, because they're the ones that actually know what unfortunately these caregivers and that supporters of people who unfortunately either number one are successful in taking their own life, or number two are struggling even though that, you know, because they had failed from taking their own life. You know, so I wanted her point of view to go along with it. And, you know, I also wanted to be able to research it a little bit further. And it's a significant difference.
Yeah, as we like to say, you know, we're not professionals, right? We're not medical professionals. We're not medically trained. You know, we have a lot of experience, and we can say a lot of the same things that a clinician would say, that a medical professional would say, but we don't have that gravitas, right? We don't have the credentials necessarily. So we could be talking about those things, about the people who are left behind and the caregivers, but we haven't necessarily worked closely with those people in a therapeutic sense over a long period of time. So by bringing Claudia in and her to share some of her stories with us, you're hearing that from a clinician's point of view. Here's somebody who deals with this as part of their job. So when we talk about, you know, yeah, there's an impact on the people who are left behind, she counsels those people who are left behind.
For about 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like she just started yesterday. She's been doing it for about 20 years. And, you know, I definitely wanted to get that point across from, like I say, the caretaker point of view, or even if, you know, the mothers, the fathers, the brothers, sisters, you know, I want to be able to get that across, because that's very important to know. I'm not saying that it's the end all that be all, but it's definitely something that needs to be brought across, and that's why we decided to bring Claudia on the show. Not only that reason, but also to help out a whole lot of people that I know that she can. So why don't we get right to it then?
Let's get to it. Yeah,
all right.
Great interview.
So here's Claudia. She is, like I said, she's a clinician at a local hospital here. She also is a very big advocate in regards to suicide awareness and prevention, both locally and now nationally, as she has just been nominated on a national board of suicide prevention. So I know that you're going to like this interview, and you know, we'll talk about it when we get done.
Great.
All right, great.
Well, we've got a great treat here. This is Shane Schultz with Arisen Strength. I have my good friend Claudia, of which is a clinician, of which I want to have you expound on that a little bit later as we get going here. We have somebody here who is very much an advocate when it comes to suicide awareness and prevention. And it kind of fits in well with our show that we've got going here tonight, because we are in the middle of our series, our new series, which is #LifeIsWorthLiving, which is all about trying to help somebody out that might be having those times as to where they think that taking their own life is an option, and not only an option for some, but actually an answer for others. So Claudia, it's great to have you here on the show.
Thank you, Shane. I'm really grateful that you invited me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have this show if I didn't have you on it, to be quite honest with you. Claudia is a very good friend of mine. She's helped me out a great deal with my own issues, which happened to be suicidality in my history. And Claudia, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what you do on a daily basis, whether it be with your work or how you're going about doing your part when it comes to bringing awareness to suicide prevention.
Thank you, Shane. I've been a clinician in the mental health field for over 20 years, so it's something that I've dealt with for a long time. And after my boss dealt with a serious tragedy where she's been in charge of suicide prevention, and she lost a family member to suicide, and it was so tragic after being so involved in the community that I decided, after she spoke after Legislative Day, where she was like, what can you do? What will you do? And I thought, you know what, I can do more. I do a lot in individual therapy, but at that point I decided to start a website called Got Peace of Mind, because I really wanted people to have a safe place to go on the internet, working with, the fact that people are really on social media and the internet a lot. And at that point, I started doing a lot of work there. And I created a couple of different things, like a promise ring, where if people are really feeling badly or family members were concerned, they could buy a promise ring that basically said, hey, somebody loves you and cares about you. And that's something that's like a visual reminder for people. And most recently, I was nominated and then accepted onto the board of the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So I'm more actively involved on a higher level to help people, not see that as an option, because really, there are other things that you can do to not have that be an option.
Well, first of all, congratulations on your nomination and your acceptance there. That's pretty amazing. So now you can do your work not only locally but also in a national sense, and I think that's amazing.
Thank you.
So, okay, since you brought it up, we already had one of our shows, which was basically to bring awareness to suicidality. As you know, Suicide Prevention Month is September. But we just got done with having a series of shows dealing with chronic illness. We've talked about Lyme disease. We talked about fibromyalgia. In the past, we've talked about multiple sclerosis, lupus, and other illnesses that are out there that are a chronic sense, as to where people deal with it on a day-to-day basis. And a lot of these autoimmune illnesses, they just don't have many answers to a whole lot of questions that people have. And, it seems to definitely bring about this subject of taking one's life, especially lately. Lately, there's been quite a rash of people who are basically on the edge. If they're not participating in harmful exercises, or they're at least thinking about it. So here at Arisen Strength, what we try to do is we try to have people pursue their dreams, talents, and capabilities in spite of the challenges that they face. And how we do that is with our pillars and our foundations. We talk about support, we talk about empowerment, and of course celebration. Some things that I know that you would recognize our foundations are all about is the power of turning the thought, the freedom of acceptance, and of course self-esteem, which is taking ownership or valuing oneself again. Now, all these things are great, and they really do help people. But how does how do we help somebody who's really on that edge? How do we help somebody, say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but really I'm going through something that I just don't think I can go through?
I understand what you're saying, and I deal with a lot of people who've gone through a lot of these struggles. And one of the things that I find is really helpful is finding a sense of spirituality. And many of the spiritual practices that I encourage people to explore are like Buddhist or Native American spiritualities, because they help you find a softer and gentle way to deal with what you're going through. I worked with someone who was dealing with cancer, and she was able to, through a group that was based on Native American traditions, was able to deal with her struggle with her cancer. And the group that worked with her, they went to visit her every week as a group. And I think that that's part of what's important for people to find, because you are able to ground yourself and be able to deal with the struggles of everyday pain and suffering. And I don't think that a lot of us are grounded in that, and I really believe in helping people find that, whatever it might be. It might be Native American stuff, it might be Buddhist, it might be music, it might be, arts. It can be so many things, and I think that we lose touch with that when we're really not feeling well.
Yeah, there's definitely an effect when you're able to ground yourself and really come to the reality of things. And I think that the way that I would look upon it over the years is simplifying things a little bit more, to where you're not constantly thinking about everything that was in the past and everything that's going to be in the future. You're really mindfully thinking just about that particular moment that you're in, to be able. But and again, that's a wonderful thing. It's just that when somebody is sitting there and they're thinking, they're thinking that taking their own life is an option, at that moment, that's not a real good place to be in. So how do you try to help somebody out of that moment? How do you get somebody to be able to think outside of that moment that they're thinking that taking their own life is an option?
Well, for me, as a mental health professional, over the years, one of the big focuses in my profession has been on safety plans. And I really don't place much value on them, because it's a paper document that basically says, oh, I'm not going to do it, and these are the people I'm going to contact. And you print out a copy for them, and they take it home, and they file it in the garbage most of the time, because it's not valid, it's not important. But in that moment, when people are feeling that badly, that's when I came up with the rings that I make, because it's there on your hand. And when you're feeling that desperate, there's a reality of there's somebody out there who really cares about me, whether it's a family member, a friend, or in my case, I use it with people all the time. Hey, somebody cares about you. Think about this for a minute. Hit the pause button, because, it's an option. It's always an option. But maybe you don't want to use that option today.
Yeah. So it's a visualization also, as to where it's right with them at that time.
Yes, exactly. It means so much to people, and I've used it in many ways. But really, it helps ground people in that moment, because it's right there, like you said. It's a visual reminder. People care about you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that ring on your finger.
Yeah, I agree. So Now, I personally have one of those rings, by the way. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Now, when somebody, like, say somebody doesn't have that ring, it could be just about anything, right? That they can basically put a value on. It doesn't have to be anything expensive. It doesn't have to be anything that's from any particular person. It's really just something in order for them to visualize that, hey, you are worth something. You're worth something more than what it is that you're going through right now.
Exactly. And that's why I place so much value on mindfulness, because in that moment where you're feeling that desperate, the idea is that you take a deep breath and you go, okay, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm feeling this way. Yeah, I'm thinking about doing this. Let me take a deep breath and let me look around and let me just refocus. And if you can find something beautiful in that moment, or if you can find anything in that moment, whether it's about thinking about a family member or just basically hitting the pause button, like most of us think we have to react in the moment exactly when we're feeling that way. Mm-hmm. And the reality is we don't. Like, that moment might feel really intense, but if we can hit the pause button, I guarantee anybody who's listening today that we will be able to go, okay, wait a minute. Let me hang on. It's only this moment, and let me just find whatever I need to find. And in some cases, it might be something beautiful, like in nature. Like, wow, that was really cool. Or meeting an individual, like, wow, oh my God, that guy was really funny. And being able to say, wow, let me just hold off. Because unless the building is on fire, we don't need to react in that moment. We have a pause button, and everybody should be able to find that pause button. Every therapist should help you find that pause button. Every friend, family member needs to help you find that pause button, because that's all we need, the pause button.
So now I know that I agree. Now, you're not just talking about just sitting there and saying, well, let me just breathe here. You also want to do some action to it as well. So in other words, in order to be able to uproot you from that thought that you were having, like for me personally, I do a lot of different distractions. I utilize motivation in order to be able to help me out of my times as to where I start feeling like I'm getting into that moment. Like I'll go on YouTube and I'll look at different motivational videos or motivation speeches and something like that. So that's what you really are saying is that it's not just about sitting there thinking about it. It's sitting there to give it a pause and then do something outside of what it is that you're thinking and see if it takes hold to carry you through for that short period of time, right?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, we have options, and that is an option, but really, if you hit the pause button, so many other options come up. And, most people don't know they have that. Everybody, that I deal with thinks that when you're having that feeling in the moment, you have to act on it. And really, you don't. Hitting that pause button and doing exactly what you do, finding a distraction, looking at an inspirational video. I actually have Facebook pages where I encourage my clients, please like those Facebook pages, because I will come up on your feed and it will all be positive. It'll all be like inspirational things, because I want you to look at life that way. Even when things are hard, and I work with a lot of people who have Lyme's disease and fibromyalgia and chronic illnesses and chronic pain. And, they're able to be like, okay, it's tough. I get it. And I really do get it. Let's hit the pause button and look at all these other things. Let's volunteer. Let's help a homeless person. Let's just do something different. And it works. It really does work.
One of the things that I notice when I was in my tough time, and one of the reasons why Arisen Strength has been so popular is because of its transparency. I don't pull punches. I talk about my struggles. I talk about how I deal with severe chronic depression. I've dealt with PTSD, borderline personality disorder, as well as a few other things. My addiction complex as well. So there's a lot of things that I talk about. One of them happens to be suicidality, and I know that one way of talking about this. I'm kind of torn. I'm a little bit torn because I'm definitely the guy who wants to be able to motivate people. I'm definitely the guy who wants to be able to change somebody's life, or at least help them change their life. But then again, I'm also that guy who's been at that point in time as to where sometimes hitting the pause button a few times, if not like 10 times, before I got to that point as to where I actually did react to where taking my own life was the answer at the time. So I'm kind of torn when it comes to a few different things when I hear other people talking about things. But that also is more or less distortions within my mind as well, right? Because one of the reasons why I think that people come to the conclusion that taking their own life is an answer really has to do with the fact that they feel alone or singled out or, in some way being punished for something. Have you found that to be the case in your research and in your experience?
Absolutely. People definitely feel that way. And I can empathize with that 100%. But I think when I go back to, like you've said, our own experience, it's like I'm in there with somebody. In my clinical work, when I get in there with somebody, it's like I am here with you. I am not going to let you be alone, and I know that you're suffering. I totally get it, but I'm here with you, and I want to make sure that you don't leave because you are a valuable person on this earth, and people respond to that. In my experience, when I say that, and I mean it, I really do mean it, and you know that, that I am there, and I will not let you go, and I will do everything in my power not to let that happen, because the bottom line is every human being has value in this life. Every human being needs to be in this life. And if there is pain and suffering, I get it. I really do. But you can do something with that. Like my boss who lost their family member. They turned it around and started to do advocacy for suicide prevention. And then eventually, nominated me to be part of suicide prevention because they weren't going to let it go. It happened to them. It was awful. Having somebody do suicide is awful for the people who are left behind. The devastation is awful. And anything I can do to help somebody, work through it, let's figure it out. If you're in a lot of pain, you know what? Let's figure it out. Do we need to do yoga? Do we need to do massage therapy? Do we need to do acupuncture? There are so many options out there, and so many people don't know that. And in my experience, when I recommend different things to people, they're like, oh, my God, I did hot yoga, and my pain went away, and now I don't feel that way anymore. There are options. We just have to figure it out. It's different for every person, but we can figure it out. Please let somebody help you.
Okay, so now you've brought it up a couple times in regards to the ones that are left behind, and I have purposely left this show to be the one that we're going to talk about that. So let's not pull punches. So what are some experiences that you've had in discussing with people who have been left behind by somebody who unfortunately did take their own life? I mean, what is the average? You know, because there's a lot of people who say, well, you don't know what it is that somebody would think about you or feel about you when you're gone. I know for a fact, for me, I felt like I was actually being helpful to those who I was leaving, because they weren't going to be burdened with my particular situation any longer. Again, that's a distorted thought. That's my thing, is to where that's like, I call it a demon. That's just something that's working in my head at the time. But there are other people out there that have similar thoughts, if not different ones, is to where they feel like they're a burden to their people that they eventually would leave behind if they did take their own life. So let's talk about what it is that the ones that are left behind, what do they go through? Because I did do some research before this show regards to this specifically, and it is quite different than what most people would think.
Well, I have to say, for people who are left behind, the devastation is amazingly horrible. In fact, I work with a lot of people who are left behind, and right now with the major, heroin craze, a lot of people have been left behind, and the devastation is incredible. And people, no matter what you have gone through, no matter how much you feel like you're a burden, people don't feel that way. And it, like you just said, it's your own distortion. People want you to be here. And if you're not here and you take your life, people don't get it, and they are devastated. And I use that word often because it's true. It's devastation, because people wonder, what could they have done? What didn't they do? What could they have done? And it's awful. And in my private practice that I have, it comes up a lot where people are like, what didn't I do? Why wasn't I paying attention? What didn't I hear? What signal didn't I see? Why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And people can't move beyond that. I see so much of that. It's awful. Now, my boss, who, like I said, recommended me for the board, and, she was able to take her strength, which gave me strength, to be like an advocate for suicide prevention. And she took it to another level, which inspired me to do all the things that I do with my website and suicide prevention. Because, Maya Angelou had a quote like, life can reduce us, but it doesn't have to change us. So it's like so amazing that we can do things to help people. And that's why I bring in, the very, like task-oriented tools like the ring and other things, because it's like we can do something to help people. And suicide has become such a major problem in this society. It is disturbing. I'm a special investigator for the hospital, and I have to investigate, like, did we do enough? Did family do enough? Did we talk to family? Did we do this? Did we do that? Because we really want to look at, like, what was missing? What was missing? Because somebody felt that badly, and they still did it. And what didn't we do? It's really horrible. That's all I can say. It's really horrible.
Yeah, I mean the whole subject is very horrible. I mean, like I said, I'm torn on both sides because I've had friends who have committed suicide. So I know those questions as to, why or what could you have done. I've had those situations, and then I've been the person who has actually committed myself to taking my own life, and I just know that for me it was like what we try to describe it with Arisen Strength is that it's a path. And what we try to do is we try to keep people from getting into that magnetic path, because that's the way it feels, is that you come to a decision, is where you have to make a decision, and it's either yes, I'm going to take my own life, or no, I'm not going to, and then I'm going to blame myself for not doing it. And it's really demoralizing from that standpoint, or it's terribly dangerous. And one thing that a lot of people don't necessarily know, but the success rate of taking one's life is significantly less than what somebody might think. I think we had some documentation. It was like 90% of the attempts that are out there are not successful.
Correct.
And that,
yeah.
I mean, to commit yourself to taking your own life, and that's not an easy thing to do for most situations. In order to get to that point, you've been through a whole lot, and you've been through a whole lot of conversations within your head to get to there. And then all of a sudden now that attempt isn't successful. Not only not only are your situations and challenges, they're not gone, but now you're dealing with something else on top of it. Be quite honest with you, I came to that conclusion myself, as to where, I've done a number of attempts, and I came to the conclusion that there was some reason why I wasn't being successful for my attempts. My conclusion was that I was meant to do something, and I didn't know what that was yet. You happen to be an integral part of this, and really you've got a pretty big stake when it comes to Arisen Strength, because you gave me that thought that there was something that I was meant to do that I didn't know that I was supposed to do as of yet. And I was using my skill set for a lot of different things, and that's something that we try to help people understand, is that, just because you're familiar with something doesn't necessarily mean that it's healthy for you. And we're trying to get people to understand and try to really kind of, like you had mentioned before, we're trying to simplify things to where their passion is back in their life. And I know that that's something that you advocate for a great deal.
I really do, and I'm really glad you brought it up, Shane, because you know what? When I first started working with you, I knew that your goal was going to be to take what you have gone through and help people with it. It was clear to me that this is your inspiration and this is your passion. And I guess my type of social work, which is probably very different from other people, is it's more of a shamanic approach, where it's like, let's really live with the person and figure out what it's going to be to help them be better. And for you, with all of your skills and with everything that you've gone through, it was clear to me that you were going to be a motivational, inspirational person to deal with other people who have dealt with what you've dealt with. And I'm so inspired and honored that you've asked me to be here today, because, wow, you're doing an amazing job. And that's exactly what people need to find. It's like if you've tried, attempted, to end your own life and it doesn't end up successful, there is a reason, and that is something you need to focus in on. Like most people who try it oftentimes aren't successful. And what does that mean? It means that your cry for help, you need something. But bottom line is you have something to offer to the world, whether it's art or inspiration or whatever. Please look at that, because to be able to survive an attempt on your own life is incredible. It's absolutely incredible, because it means to me, in my way of looking, the universe is saying, don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't do it. And that's my message anyway, but please don't do it, because the world is a better place with all people in it instead of people opting out. You never know what you're going to do. You never know what you're going to do or what you're going to offer or what you're going to give somebody else. Please don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, I told you the other day, I remember that day very clearly, as to where you implanted in my head that there was something that I was meant to do that was outside of what it is that I would ever have thought of doing, even though that I might want to. I just didn't think that I had that ability to do it. And, it became a purpose, and it's something that I've been working on for, going on 5 years now. And, so it's something that it wasn't the easiest thing to do by any means, as you know. There are definitely challenging days, probably more challenging days than there are the successful ones. But they're definitely worth it to get to a point as to where I am now, where I even said in a blog that I do on our website, and I said, because people know some of the things that I've been through, they don't know all the things that I've been through, not near as many things as what I've been through. And I said, some people were saying, well, what would you change if you had the opportunity? And I said, well, I wouldn't change anything about my past if it meant that I wouldn't be here where I am right now. And, that just goes to show you that it's worth the amount of work that it takes in order to get to that point. And I have to thank you for a big part of that. Some of our guests and audience members are people who are caretakers and caregivers of people who are dealing with these thoughts in mind, whether it be illness, injury, or life experiences that people go through. What are some things that you would want to relay to those people when it comes to dealing with this possibility?
I guess what I would offer, and first of all, Shane, I just want to say to you specifically, you are amazing, because what you've done and this show is incredible. So kudos to you, really. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. But I guess to people who are dealing with people who are struggling with this, I would just say, you know what? Do everything you can and just be there unconditionally no matter what. Because I think oftentimes when people are struggling with this, people don't understand. They don't get it. And I would encourage everybody to say to their loved ones, whoever it is, family, friends, professionals, it doesn't matter. Like, really let them know what you're going through, because Back in the early days when I first started out, it was like a taboo subject. And nowadays, it's like, talk about it. Tell your family members what's going on. And the family members will figure it out. They'll be there with you. Because if you don't tell them, they don't know what to do. And if it means, like, please check in with me every day, a family member will then know what to do. Or please send me a card every once in a while. A family member or a friend will know what to do. And that's the piece that we're missing. It's like we're afraid to reach out and say whatever it is that we need, and then our family members and friends, they don't know how to help us. We assume they do, but they don't. And it's not that they don't care, it's that they don't. Like for me, when I'm having a bad time, and this is going to sound kind of funny, like, send me and give me some stamps. Stamps make me happy. And, it makes me, like, write cards and do letters, because sometimes going to the post office to get stamps is like that extra step. And I hope people don't think I'm minimizing, but, like, for me, if I don't tell people that, who would know that stamps make Claudia happy? You know what I mean?
Well, it's like a catalyst,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, talk about what you need and be honest about it. And if it means that somebody should send you a carrot cake, okay. People will do that. They don't know. And it's not their fault. They just don't know. And I think we forget that we should just say, something that makes me feel better is X, Y, and Z. For me, it's stamps.
Yeah.
It is. So it's silly, but for me, that's what works. So it could be anything for anybody. Let people know so they can help you. Because if you take the other option, people question themselves forever. And that's the word right there, forever.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll add to it, and you have a lot to do with this as well, is the fact that for those who are caregivers of these people who might be having these thoughts or these actions towards taking their own life or suicide. I don't use the word suicide a whole lot, but because I try to break it down, because that's the bottom line. You're taking your own life. You can give it any other word that you want, but the reality is that you are taking your life out of this world.
Yes.
So the only thing that I would add to it is for those caregivers that are out there, those parents, those friends, those coworkers, therapists even, invest in the person that you're dealing with.
Yes.
One of the things that I'll never forget, I happen to miss, I wasn't doing too well, and I sometimes I actually lose track of time. And I remember missing an appointment with you, and I wasn't doing well. I lost like a couple hours of time, and you had called me, and I hadn't called you back yet. And you were worried enough in order to send the police over to my house. And when I did get the chance to call you back, you had asked me where it is that I was. Well, folks, what was going on is that Claudia had called the police, and the police were taking the front door off my house. That's how worried she was. So
that is the worry I was, yes.
That is that's investment, and that is something that I would never forget, and it's something that made a difference many days after. So if I was to give any advice to anybody that's out there who is caregiving for anyone that is thinking about taking their own life, that is the number one answer, and that is invest in the person that you're dealing with. We talked about, lists and making lists, and you talked about the paperwork that ends up being filed in the garbage and so forth. None of those lists ever include the passions of what somebody likes to do or wants to do. So it's let's get serious here. You're trying to distract somebody. The best thing to do is, make them happy or make them feel good for a little bit, to be able to get off of that, uproot them off of that idea of what it is that they're thinking. So, you know what? It's been great talking to you, especially on the show. I really hope that you help us out again in the near future. We've got a few things going on with our own little radio network as well as this show. You always have an outstanding invitation to come and help us out, because I think that I know that you are there to help other people, and I know that you've made a big difference in a lot of people's lives.
Shane, I just want to say thank you, because having you do this is exactly what I hoped for you, and thank you so much. It's a total honor to be here today, and I am just overwhelmed with gratitude, and you make me feel like what I do is really worthwhile. Thank you.
Well, it definitely is. Why don't you go ahead and give a plug on your website and the number of things that you want people to know about you.
Okay. Well, my website is gotpeaceofmind.org. It is a positive place to be on the Internet. I have a couple of Facebook pages that are only about positive things. It's Facebook. If you go to Peacestock 80 or Peace of Mind 80, you'll find nothing but a positive feed. So treat Facebook really well, so it will treat you nicely. And also, I really encourage people to volunteer. I volunteer at the Sanctuary for Independent Media. And I really, if anybody wants to do volunteer work, please contact me, because it's a great way to feel good about yourself. So if I can just put that out there, please contact me. My cell phone is 518-269-5522. Please call me, and I will be happy to help set you up.
Well, that's awesome. You also deal with my good friend Adam, or I should say Andrew Wheeler.
Andrew.
Andrew Wheeler.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about him.
He's a fantastic guitarist, as you well know, and he does some unique things as far as a CD with you, right?
Yes, I have guided imagery CDs that help you kind of create peace of mind. Andrew is my guitarist, and I've been on a journey with him for like over a year. He really kind of stepped up and helped me when another guitarist quit, and he has been absolutely amazing. So we have these great CDs to help people like chill out. And he's also an amazing blues musician. Mm-hmm. So he plays out a lot. Right now on October 9th, he's doing a blues journey at the in Albany, where he does a story of the blues and plays the music, which is really great, at the University of Albany Club, which is kind of exclusive. And I know, Shane, you're going, so we're going to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he's really amazing. Thank you for reminding me about that.
Oh, you're welcome. He's also working. He's actually working on some of our background music that we plan on doing for our radio network. So that's going to be kind of exciting in order to be able to introduce his amazing talent to our audience. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And he's totally all about it. He is totally in.
Excellent. That's amazing. And he is actually at, 518guitar.com. If anybody wants to take a look at Andrew's, his talent that's out there in regards to as a blues musician, he does amazing work when it comes to, the electric guitar as well as the acoustical guitar. I definitely recommend you to take a look at it. And the reason why I bring it up is that it can be a great distraction when you're going through the times that you're going through that aren't the easiest way to go through them. So, Claudia, I want to say thank you for being on the show. It's been amazing to have you, and really, again, I hope you come on our radio network as well as here, in order to be able to help us out again in the future.
Shane, thank you so much. You are amazing. And yes, I will come on the show anytime you ask me to. You are incredible, awesome. Really. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Man, I've been with Claudia for over 5 years, like I said, and man, she's just a really amazing person.
Yeah, I think it's real special to be able to get her on the show. This is somebody who, knows Shane, right? As well as a professional can know a client or a patient or whatever the appropriate word is. And so she's seen you come a long way, and it hasn't been 5 years of smooth sailing either. No. There was this was hard work, and in the middle there was things got.
There was a relapse.
There was a little bit of a relapse. There was, you had to go in for some intensive treatment, and that's where you and I kind of met up. I was going through my intensive treatment, which went from just meeting with a therapist once a week plus a group to like 15 sessions a week.
Yeah.
For a year or more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when we talk about intensive treatment, we mean intensive, but it was. At that time, you were ready for it. Sometimes it's like everything else in recovery. If you're not ready for it at the time it comes along, even Claudia mentioned this about the universe is telling you something.
Yeah, I know.
When you survive your attempt. That's the universe telling you something here. And then there's other times, in our lives where, I'm just not ready for that level of treatment at the moment. So, maybe I'm just going to hold on. But when you take advantage of the opportunities as they're afforded to you, when you recognize them, and that's the part of listening to the universe, I go, oh, wow, the universe put that in front of me for a reason. Or my higher power put that in front of me for a reason because they want me to really see this, and I'm going to see it, and I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. So the crisis becomes challenge, becomes opportunity, as I like to say, one of my little pet sayings. But, and to watch this all the way through, and when I start thinking about this, especially, because we put you center stage, this is really, this episode is really driven a lot by your experience with suicidology. Yeah. But when I think of what your journey must have been like the last 5 years to get to this point where you can be so transparent, really, so open, and so. I don't want the word. I don't want to say the word comfortable with it because maybe that's not the right word because it belittles it. But to get to this point where we can actually do this show, and do it with the care that it, and the respect that it deserves, that's a long journey.
It definitely was, and it didn't start off all that easy. Believe me, I had another social worker that was working with me, and it was not working out at all. And I was not a happy individual at all. And Claudia happens to be, she's also a director of the outpatient side for the hospital. And she happened to be there, and she knew that I was not happy about it. Well, I didn't know what was all going on either, because the situation was because of my extensive history. They knew that they needed to have some accountability of their own. They had some responsibility in taking me as a patient. And, so they put me with the ones that they thought would be able to be the best situation for me. And Claudia happened to be that person. And, and I was not altogether happy because I had to reschedule and everything in this sense. And I'm like, and who are you? It was like, and she says, well, I'm Claudia. I says, that's nice. She goes, why don't we, make an appointment? And so I'm like, yeah. And it didn't take me long to figure it out that Claudia was a little bit, specializes in the situation that I was in, and we kind of hit it off pretty good. And a lot of that had to do with Claudia because as you can tell through the interview, she's very invested into her patients. And she didn't ever treat me like a patient. She always treated me like a person. And that really kind of fits well with what we do. It's like, because Arisen Strength is not about patients. It's about helping the person while the professionals treat the patient. Well, Claudia is the professional. But even she didn't go that route of treating me as a patient. She treated me as a person. And it made a big, big difference. And
I think you could also hear it in her voice when she was talking about, working with you, that, there was some, pride, is that the right word? I mean, she was definitely proud of not the work that she had done, but the work that you had done to really kind of get to where you are. Now, are we all 100% cured? No.
it never will be.
And, that's what we like about it. It's progress, not perfection, but it is really nice to get that recognition that says, you know what, I have made progress. There was a time when, I could not do what it is that I'm doing today. But I'm doing it today. And I'm going to take what I do today, I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to try and do it a little bit better tomorrow. And I'm going to keep moving in that direction. That's having purpose, making life worth living. Right? We say life is worth living.
It's worth living.
That's what purpose does for you. It gives you that little bit of a target out there that reminds you that, hey, life is worth living. And it's worth living today. One day at a time, if you have to, which is the best way to live life. Do it every day,
yeah.
And work towards your purpose a little bit.
And like I said, it was one of those things as to where, I mean, right away she was talking about me doing something else, and she even mentioned it in the interview that she saw me utilizing what I learned to be able to help other people. Well, part of that is a good thing. Part of that is also therapy because, one of my things is extreme codependency, which is always helping everyone else, even to my detriment. And that isn't a good thing. But at the same time, she was also looking at it from the standpoint that I could be helpful to other people. And she knew that. And I wasn't hearing it. I mean, I heard it and it was in my head and it stayed there for a little bit, but I didn't have a clue. I was using words like, look, I feel broken, right? And if you ever talk to Claudia personally, she will back this up. I said, look, I feel broke. I gave more analogies than you can possibly imagine. I said, look, she goes, everybody said that I looked fine. And that it didn't look as if like I was suicidal. It didn't look as if like I was struggling. And I said, well, let me put it this way. You could have a Ferrari, okay? And all I have to do is take one distributor plug off of that Ferrari, and as gorgeous as that car is, as capable as that car is, as potential as that car is, it's not going to go anywhere with just me pulling that plug. And that's the way that I felt. I felt like, yeah, I knew. I mean, I've done some things. I've accomplished some things as to where I knew that I had the ability to do a lot, but I felt broken. I felt like there was something physically wrong within me. And having a stroke didn't help either, as to where, that kind of was in the back of my mind that was part of it too. But, but she just stayed with me. She mentioned the word unconditional. She was there, and there were times as to where it wasn't easy. There were times as to where she was at her wit's end, talking to me, because I would give her all these analogies about how I felt and everything, and she would want to see me be so much different than what it is that I felt. But she knew not to push because I wasn't ready. And when I relapsed, I relapsed with my addiction, and I relapsed with my suicidality, and the day before, I'll never forget, I said, "Now do you believe me?" Because I was actually, and it's funny, it was right around this time, because the Dover race was just today. Oh. I've worked on a stock car in the past, and I've always had racing in my blood. It's something that's very passionate of mine. And we went to a NASCAR race, which normally I love to do. And we were hanging out in this lovely, very large house, very expensive house and everything. And throughout the trip, I was ending up, half of the trip, I was sitting there trying to convince myself why I didn't want to commit suicide. And I would literally pray myself to sleep every single night, because my subconscious was working on me so badly. My demon was working on me so badly. And when I came back, Claudia's like, "Oh, did you have a great time?" And I'm like, "Listen, I got to talk to you." And she's like, "Oh no." And I sat there and I said, I'm in trouble. And she didn't know what to do, because she said, "I thought that going to the race would be one of those things that it would take you away from that one for a moment, and now you're telling me that it didn't." And we were at our wit's end. And I said, "Now do you understand?" And she goes, "Shane, I've always understood." And she says that continuously throughout the interview. "I've always understood." She goes, "I just want so much better for you." And she really did. And thankfully, the attempt that I did didn't. My purpose was stronger, and here I am now. And it's like I said in that blog, would I change anything? I wouldn't change anything if it meant that I wasn't going to be where I am right now. And a lot of people might think that that's just me, touting up the show and everything like that. It's not. It is the God's honest truth, because where I am right now, being able to have the ability to do the things that I do now, the people that I help now, the organizations that I'm affiliated with now, I wouldn't change it. So, and a lot of it has to do with that lady right there, who I hope a lot of people will listen to.
And check out her website, gotpeaceofmind.org.
Right.
So it's all one word, gotpeaceofmind.org. And you can see her, they've got a whole website there. So I guess.
Yeah, she's got a website there that talks all about positivity. There's a blog there, and a lot of it has to do with her just sitting there waiting. And she's one of the most, she's very calm when it comes to stressful situations. And a lot of her blogs have to do with waiting in line. And talking about how people react while waiting in line. It's kind of funny. But she also has CDs, which I talked about, my good friend Andrew Wheeler, which is a great guitarist that's out there. He's a blues guitarist, and, they work together to where they have CDs that kind of help you get into that focused frame of mind, that clearing a lot of what's happened last week and what's going to happen next week. It's kind of keeping you very mindful. And then she's got the rings that she talks about, of which, just when I got that alone, it was something as to where it was, okay, this person is with me, they're with me in this battle that I'm going through. And she's got so much more that she does, and she plans on doing more in the future. Like I said, she's a very large advocate when it comes to this topic, this suicide awareness and suicide prevention, both locally and nationally. And I know that she's going to do a lot of things.
Great.
Yeah, it was really really a benefit to have her here. And hopefully we're going to have her here on the show. She said it that she would, and I said, now look, I'm telling you, I'm going to come after you. I said, you're telling me that you want to do this. She goes, yeah. And she goes, okay. And so, so we'll be hearing from Claudia again. Geez, what else?
What have we got coming up?
We got coming up. The next show that we're going to be doing is going to be on what date is it? It's not the, yeah, it's the 11th. Is it the 11th? No. Yes. Okay. It's going to be the 11th, and which is Columbus Day weekend. And we're going to be talking about value. We're going to be talking about, which is that self-esteem portion. We're going to elaborate a lot on what it is that we talked about a little bit today. To bringing accountability, bringing, somebody to valuing themselves once again, to where they can all of a sudden start seeing what makes them special and unique. So I think that that's going to be a show that's going to be well worth, not only us doing, but for people to watch and learn. And then Journey into the Light. We did another show last Monday. It was one of those things as to where we just kind of went off the cuff, and it was enjoyable. I really do enjoy doing that. I can be a little bit different there, that's every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Wayne is sometimes the co-host there as well, or he's in the chat room driving everybody crazy in there, and I have a good time, talking either with Michael Long or Wayne, depending on what the topic is. The topic that we plan on doing, is to go right along with what we're doing here, just a little bit different. It's a little bit more motivational, to be able to get people to get the workshop here, get over there, and be able to do something with it.
We got, of course, our website, which is our portal to all things Arisen Strength. Yep. You can come through our website, arisenstrength.com, and you can find our videos, our Twitter stream right there. Yep. So it's not like come to our website and find our Twitter handle and then go to Twitter. No. You just come right to the webpage. You can read our Twitter right there. Same with our Facebook. Yep. Just come right there. You can read our Facebook right there from our webpage. We got links to our chat room, our blogs. We have the Pillars and Foundation blogs, Wayne's blog and Shane's blog, and so there's a lot going on the website. And of course, you can get links to Claudia's website, gotpeaceofmind.org, from our website. And of course, all the other our partners and things during this whole Life is Worth Living series.
When we put together the website, I wanted it to be an all-in-one shop. I wanted it to be everybody can go right to one spot. It didn't work out that way in the beginning, but when we got the website up, that's what I wanted to do. And Wayne was fantastic in order to be able to do all of that and more. So we're really proud to have that website, and we have a feedback capability there for people to either send us a small message or a comment or an email. We definitely value the feedback that we get from the things that we do. And you can watch the show and chat with friends all at the same spot, and that really is a big thing for what it is that I envisioned, what we wanted to do.
And if you missed the show, and we're doing it live, when we do the live chat with the Sunday night and Thursday night broadcast, you can just come by the website and you can pick up the episodes there, and watch them by yourself. So.
Yeah, the archive, it's like anything else. If you happen to miss a show, look, I know that there's going to be some times as to where you were not going to be able to make the show. I'm not insecure to think that you're not going to be there again. It's just that sometimes those things do happen, and that's what the archive's there for. Plus, if you're like me, I watch shows all the time. I watch different shows and repeats all the time if it happens to be helpful to me. So, that's what we wanted to do. So, we're doing what it is that we do. I think that we got a really good start on our hashtag Life is Worth Living series. And we're going to just keep on doing what we do the way that we know how to. And with our friends helping us out, it really is making a difference. And I'm very proud of that. All right, folks. So that's going to be the show. This is the Arisen Strength Extra. It is not the recap. We are not doing a repeat of what it is that we do on Sundays. This is a totally different show. It's where we go over some memorable moments on Sunday, but we have a whole lot more content even on our Thursday show with the Arisen Strength Extra. So for now, we'll be seeing you. The next time is going to be on October 11th when we talk about valuing oneself in our hashtag Life is Worth Living series. For now, live life with purpose. Thank you and have a great night.
And see you in Chatsy.
See you in Chatsy.